Happy Fitness Friday, everyone. I am here with world-renowned U.S. coach, swim coach, Olympic coach, national team coach, formerly of the Southern Illinois Salukis for 32 years.
Yep.
The current PanAm Technical Open Water chairman, Rick Walker. So we're so happy and honored to have you here to share some swimming tips, open water swimming tips, with our club members and the people who follow us on social media.
Very good, Tim. It's so great to be here, obviously in the Cayman, and really looking forward to the swim tomorrow, and just trying to impart some easy tips that people can take part in to make their swim and their activities or their efforts a little bit easier, so that they can enjoy it. Because first and foremost, you should be having fun, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rick's going to give us these tips. We're going to have a conversation and then also demonstrate some of the things that we discussed. As a beginner, I have tons of questions about open water swimming. I've been privileged to work with Coach Kara of Tri-Formation. We just completed a training program within Cricket Square, so there were several people who took advantage of that. What do you do at the sort of the very beginning of the race?
Well, there's obviously at the very start, there's usually a long line, and depending on your comfortability with your swimming abilities or being around people, if you are on the far ends of either ends of the line, typically the swimmers are trying to go towards the middle, or they're going to the left depending on the line of the course, or they'll be going, to the left or to the right. Just keep that in mind. If they're going to the left, then go to the right, and eventually those swimmers will start to peel off, and you'll find yourself out there comfortably alone, and still have eyesight of other people. If you're comfortable around a pack or a group of swimmers, certainly the middle is where a lot of the hustle and bustle happens. If they're going to the middle, or if they're going this way, the intersection is going to be through the middle. So if you don't mind the crowd, but you want to be where it's happening, the middle is where you want to be. Anywhere in between the middle and to the left, to the right, or middle to the left, the further you go out, the less people you'll find.
With the Flower Sea Swim, we have about 700 people that have registered to participate this year. Talk about maybe swimming in a group.
Yeah.
Right. Some of the things. Yeah.
So we often think of what we're comfortable with and what we know. So 700 people would be way too many for a 25-meter or a 50-meter pool. That would be insane. But you take a look at the pool behind me, that's not even a fraction of the pool size. You've got plenty of room, plenty of space to swim around. The other thing that you can consider is, while everybody who's really gung-ho and ready to go, they're going to be to the front. Just move yourself to the back, let that front clear out a little bit, and you got plenty of space to swim behind them. As they're pulling some of that water with them, you just tuck yourself in behind. Nice and comfortable there. The other thing is, when we think of pack swimming, it's quite common to think that everybody's out to get everybody. The reality of it is, if you run into somebody, if you get hit in the head, it's not on purpose, it's by accident. It's just 10 people trying to acquire one spot, and they don't even know that they're doing it. So if you can imagine yourself walking along, a sidewalk, and somebody's coming towards you or is coming up from behind you and they accidentally bump your shoulder. The classic phrase would be, "Excuse me." They didn't mean to do it, but they got tucked in there and you connected. Swimming is no different, except they can't see where they're going quite often, and they don't really know how close or how far they are away from you. So just take the bumps, with a grain of salt. Don't make a big deal out of it. You're probably going to be bumping into people as well. And if that's the case, then everything's equal, but you could always speed up, slow down, and just swim along. There's a beauty of pack swimming where everybody's energy, everybody's workforce is going in together. And all you have to do is watch cycling, marathon cycling, where everybody is working together, even though they're competing. They'll even have the front rider peel off and slowly go to the back as the next rider takes over, so that they're sharing the front. It's the exact same thing if you see a flock of birds in that V shape. That front bird is bearing the workload, and the birds behind them are getting the benefit. Eventually that front bird will peel off and another bird will come up to the front. That's sharing the cost, the burden of the workload. Quite often I have found swimmers do the exact same thing. So it's not necessarily fair to have one swimmer pull the entire pack, which they do, but they'll peel back or they'll move off to the side and slow down, and the other swimmers will take over. So pack swimming, actually, if you can get comfortable and realize that you're actually working together as a team while competing against each other, is a remarkable thing, and one of the beauties of open water.
We talked about pack swimming, we talked about positioning in the water at the start. What about pacing for a 1 mile distance?
Very, very good. That's a great question. So at the beginning of the race, it's going to be very fast. Everybody's jockeying for that position. And as they find and locate that position, then that pace is going to start to slow down just a little bit. As it slows down, that's where you want to settle in and find your pack, who you're swimming with, and start working together. As you get closer to the finish, obviously that's going to pick up a little bit more because all bets are off. It's just whoever's got the most energy going into the finish. So typically it's fast at the beginning, settles a little bit, and then fast towards the end. You want to make sure that you find that pack early so that you can benefit for a greater length of the swim, and then finish as you see fit and how you're comfortable with the energy you have left.
We've talked about positioning, we've talked about swimming in a pack, we've talked about pacing. What about sighting? What am I looking for? What am I looking at?
Yeah, great question. So let's say tomorrow we have a mile swim. You don't want to end up swimming 3 miles. In open water, in the pool, you've got lane lines, and you've got the ability to stay within your lane. Out here, there are no lane lines, so you have to use landmarks. Quite often when we are talking or working with swimmers that are new to the national team, getting ready to go to the international level, we phrase it like this. When you first start out, you want to pinpoint, say, a condominium and look at the rooftop. That's easy to sight, and as long as you're going in that direction, you'll be pretty good. As you get closer, you want to move that eyesight down just a little bit, say on top of the 3rd floor of the condo. Then as you get a little bit closer, you want to move that down to the 2nd floor of the condo, because that condo is starting to get a little bit bigger. As you get a little bit closer, you want to be down on the ground floor. As you get really close, you want to be looking to see what they're cooking for breakfast. That's how detailed you want to get, but you start off really big and then you work your way small. Don't overdo it, and don't think you've got to, you've got to do it some specific way. Whichever gets you in a straight line. I know from down at the other end, where we're starting at Coral Beach, and you're working your way down this way, we have some construction over here to my left, and I know that's the only building that stands out with cranes, and because of the shape of 7 Mile Beach, that crane falls right in line with where I want to go to the finish. And so that's where I'm heading, is that direction. That keeps me focused and it keeps me online. And as I get closer, I start to pinpoint a little bit more, because as you get closer, accuracy becomes a little more important. A couple of things that will be critical as you gain more experience through sighting. Number one, a lot of people make the assumption that the person that they're swimming with somehow knows how to sight. That may not be the case. So you kind of have to trust but verify. So if you're going off of them and they keep going off to the left, or they go off to the right, or they zigzag, it's not the person you want to be sticking with to get yourself a straight line. So make sure that you know, if you're going off of them, that they definitely are taking a straight line. If they're not, move on, or make sure that you're watching your own line. The second thing is, a lot of swimmers, as they are swimming, will raise their head and in order to sight. In a long swim like that, you're going to have back injuries, you're going to have neck injuries, and that will take days to recover from. So what we try and do, especially when you've got water like this, it's very smooth, it's very much like a pool. So as I would take a breath to the side, I'm also going to take a look with my head nice and low, and that keeps me nice and streamlined moving down the waterway. Or I can pick my head up and look forward and then just simply turn it to the side. My preference is to take a peek and then turn my head to the side. That keeps my body from going like this to just going nice and straight. We'll demonstrate that out in the water, but what we're going for is how comfortable can you stay in the water. That's very similar to the pool. If it's choppy water, you want to make sure that the elbows are nice and high, because that chop is going to be hitting the water. And if the elbows are high and a nice good turn, your hands and arms can clear that wave. Also, you want to go with the flow of the waves. That'll also keep you nice and smooth and not having to work extra hard.
Final thoughts, just with the race, the Flower Sea Swim tomorrow, or open water swimming in general, and any tips for newbies?
I would say that if you're participating in the open water swim, any open water swim, if you think of the percentage of people who would do it, could do it, or do it, that percentage in athletics, or in terms of athletic events, that percentage is extremely small. So the fact that you're undertaking something like this means that you fit in such a small percentage. That already makes you an elite athlete. And that should be your confidence builder. Take the first couple of swims as a learning experience, learn off of that experience. Some of our best open water swimmers in the world had no experience at the beginning. After a couple of swims, all of a sudden they were catapulted to the elite swimmers of the world. And that was simply experience. So if you've got the ability to do the open water swim, learn off of it, have some fun, and it'll keep bringing you back. It's like the one golf shot out of 1,000 that you will hit bad. One golf shot will keep you coming back to the golf course. Same thing with open water. You'll probably get done and say never again. A couple of days later, you're ready to go for the next event. Just have fun with it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rick.